So hello, this is part 2 of the C++ programming language lecture. If you remember, we started part 1 last time with the introduction and history of the language, and also what an actual complete code setup of this language would look like. So for the continuation, when you need to actually start on working on this language, you would need the two things. So first one is a text editor like Notepad to write up the C++ code, and a compiler like GCC, in which to translate this C++ code into a language which the computer can use and also understand. So we call it the integrated development environment, the IDE, for editing, compiling this code, and commonly used is code blocks. So this is the website for the code blocks wherein you can download the latest version of the software. And there's also several other softwares with the same setup for the IDE which you can use. But this is one of the preferred softwares wherein uh, coding and running the C++ code is used. So for the quick start of the first C++ program now, if you recall, this is the actual setup, which will have to print out the hello world in your screen once you run it. So the objective is to show the phrase hello world, and using code blocks, there's a command there that which can have to click and process the build and run. So it will have this output. This will what is this will it will look like in your screen after running this program. This will supposedly run under the command prompt setting. And then recall structure again for the program section aton the comment warning so about then pre-processor directives, the header file, and having the main function here, and also the output. This is the main function between braces, and then we'll have the return statement after the cout line of command. So the cout is also called the print text. This is the cout object together with this symbol of the operator. It is used to provide the output values or print out the text in your screen. So you can add this many cout objects to one, but this not mean that after adding it on a line of the code, it will also add a new line at the output or the end of the output. So for example, this will not produce a single two lines, but rather only have a single line at the output of your code. So you need to have this /n \n character at the end of the first line, so it will create a new line after running this. So this is what the code will look like. Then hello world \n quotation marks, and then cout. I am learning C++ morning in quotation code. We'll have later what this means. These are string types now. So having two /n characters after each other, we create a blank line. So another way to insert this line is using the NDL or ENDL manipulator. So this is what also we will put it here, after adding the cout, then you use this symbol and then NDL on the end, and add the second line of code to produce a new line. So checking again, so recording. C++ variables. So as we recall again, these are containers for storing data values in your program. So there are different types of variables as defined with keywords in this list. No? Example, int, it stores integers or whole numbers without decimals. So example are these whole numbers, no? Negative or positive whole numbers. Then we have double. This stores floating point numbers and with decimals. Example is this one, 19.99 or negative 19.99. And also we have char or character, shortcut for character. This stores single characters such as A and B, uppercase or lowercase, depends on the setup. And these are surrounded by single quotes lang when you put in a declaration for the variable. Now for the string, it produces text, no? As example as the hello world text. This is called a string, and it's surrounded by double quotes when you put in the declaration for the variable. And also this one bool, or short for boolean, it stores the values with two statements which are true or false. Now for the user input, the cn, pronounced as cn, is a predefined variable that reads data from the keyboard with the extraction operator. This is the symbol for the extraction operator. In the example, the following example, the user can input a number which is stored in the variable x, and then we'll print out the value of x. So declaration int x, and then we'll see it out. Type a number. This is what the username will have. So it will type a number and press enter, and then the cn, it will get the user input from the keyboard and store the number in this variable, the variable x, and then it will print out using the cout command. Your number is symbol operator x, in what is the value of the input number that was placed by the user. So for a simple calculator setup, this is an example code. Int xy, these are declared variables, and then we'll have the operator sum. We'll have the declaration for sum, and then we'll have cout, type a number, and then input the number in x, and then cout again for another number. After input, the second the number will place in the y variable, and then we'll have this mathematical operator of sum equals to x plus y, and then the output produced by this command, and the sum is and added by the operator of this variable, and this will have the number for example, if you input number 5 for x and then 6 for y, so the sum is 11, so it will put up and display an output of sum is colon 11. That is an example on how the cn and cout function works in C++ programming language. Now for numeric data types, we use int, no? When you need to store whole numbers, and flat or double for floating numbers with decimals, such as this one. So in this example, being int for whole numbers, so this is the example declaration, and then float for decimals. So in comparison of the two, float versus double data types, the precision of floating point value indicates how many digits of the value can have after the decimal points. So the precision of float is only 6 to 7 decimal digits, whereas the double have a precision of about 15. So for safe use of this data type declaration, they would suggest that to use double instead of float for most of your calculations that involves decimal places and decimal numbers. Now for Boolean data types, this is declared by this keyword, a bool, called bool. You can only take the values true or false in its input. So when the value is returned true, it equals to 1. Then it's false, it's 0. So Boolean values are mostly used for conditional testing, or mostly for condition, which in the actual coding, which it will involve if else and other statements related to if you want to check if it is true or false if depending on the value and condition given. So also another note, bold, true, and false are reserved words, so that doesn't mean that you cannot declare them as variable names. So an example, bool no is coding fun is equals to true. The another declaration bool is fish tasty is equals to false. Then it's with its C out is coding fun, so it will output one for true, and then it and once it's C out is fish tasty variable, which is false, it will output 0. So again, this represents 1 for true and 0 for false. So for character data types, represented by char, used to store single character, no? Example A and C, like for example, the same with your mathematical variables, no? The same using single letter words, and it's surrounded by single quotes for its declaration. So this example, character my grade is equals to B, then it will see out my grade. It will display this single character letter. So example also for this one, A, B, and C. A is equals to 65, 66, and 67. It will also declare, it will also uh, display this output and this number represented by these data type characters. Now for string, as compared to character, no, as the name implies, it can store a sequence of characters. So text of characters is stored in this data type. So this is not a built-in type, but it behaves like one of its most basic usage. String values must be surrounded by double quotes. So if you want to declare it sa inyong code, this is the proper syntax. So to use strings, you must include an additional header file, the string header file library. So you should also include using this command to have the header file before using the string data type and declaration of your variables. Now for C++ operators, so again for operators are mathematical operators, no? And isa lang isang arithmetic natin. These are used to perform operations on variables and values. So for arithmetic operators, amo na naton nga table. Again, no, for the basic number and addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, the modulus, increment, and decrement. So as the name, no, pareho man nila description as the same man sa actual naton when you use it in math. And its modulus na in terms of the division remainder, this with the symbol, and then increment is increase, and decrement is decrease by one value in the variable. For assignment operators naman, are used to assign values to variables. Ang mga operator na common natin is the equal sign. Use the assign value to 10. So integer x is assigned by this value of 10. So equal. So x is equal to 10. Ang value. So in separator, ang mga example, this is table to describe x equals to 5. When this example, this assignment operator x plus equal 3, ang equivalent. And same with this one, minus lang, and multiply and divide. And this is modulus, other symbols ng code nila. So depending on the usage of the assignment operators, depending on how would work out on your final command on the setup of the C++ language, wherein you use each of these as specified depending on the assignment that you'd want for the output to produce. So this one, the comparison, this is the next type of operators used for comparing two values. So the return value is either true or false, with true as 1 and false in 0. So in this example, we have used the greater than operator to find if 5 is greater than 3. So initially we'd assign it integer x is equals to 5, integer y is equals to 3, and then see out comparison operator, x is greater than y. So if it's true, it will return 1 because 5 is greater than 3. So if kung lain naman yung numbers there, of course, we'll use another comparison. Then if it's false, then it will return 0 on their output. So these are the examples of the operators. Comparison operators, equal to, not equal, greater than, less than, greater than or equal, and less than or equal. The same with this example as declared in the variable declaration lines. So for logical operators used for determining the logic between variables, these are the three commonly used. So logical AND, logical OR, and logical NOT. So if true, returns true if both statements are true. So this is an example. Also kung OR, if one of the statements is true, and this is an example, it will return true. So if NOT returns false if the results is true. So this is your example code for this logical operator. Now for strings, again, collection of characters and double quotes, and is used for storing text in your C++ program. So having to use string, you need to include again the string header file first in the include line, and then you can then produce it in the variable declaration using string. Example in this one, string greeting equals to hello in double quotes. So the string concatenation in this operator, the plus operator can be used to add strings between them and make it a new string. So that is what we call a concatenation of the strings. So in this example, first name is John and then last name is Joe. Declaration nila sa the string, and then if you put out this string declaration, full name is equals to first name plus last name, it will add the two declared names no John and Doe into a single string. So it will put place out the full name variable of John Doe in the display. So adding numbers in strings, so using the plus to note no ang plus operator natin is not only for concatenation but also in use as arithmetic for addition. So the numbers are added kung numbers are included and declared, but if strings are declared, then they are concatenated. So if you add two numbers, the result will be a number. So if you add two strings, the result will be a string concatenation. But if you try to add a number to a string, it will produce an error. So example, if this is the string na x equals to 10, but it is but the y is declared as an integer, so number ni siya ring string text. So adding this will produce an error sa imong program. So the string length is determined by the length among function. By this example, no? String text equals among alphabet naton, and then if you see out this code, the length of the string is then declared text dot length. The text is the text dot length. It will count the number of characters in the string. It will put an output of the count in this command. So the length of the string is kung ano yung number nila. Then the C++ access strings. You can access the character in a string by referring to its index number inside the square brackets. So for this example, it will print the first character in my string. So my string ang yung variable name with hello. It will my string 0. So ang 0 is the first letter. So it will output H in this command. So note that it starts with the indexing with 0 no, sa ating computer. 0 is the first character, 1 is the second, 2 is the third, and so on and so forth. Now for math function again, mathematical functions we have is the first one is max and min. So this is the command function, no? The max xy can be used to find the highest value of x and y, and at the same time sa min xy naman to find the lowest value. So for example, C out max of 5 and 10, also C out declaration mean of 5 and 10. So for find the highest value of 10, so this one's minimum value, so ang 5 na iyang i-produce. So the CMath header, this needed for other functions such as square root, round or rounding a number, and natural logarithm. These are included in this CMath header file, so it should be advised that you should add this in your include link line before using these functions in your main in your main code. So these are examples of square root, round, and log. So this was declared before in CMath in your header file before using these functions. So example of my profile mark functions sa mga lista: cosine, mga absolute value, arctangent, and other mathematical related ng mga computations are represented by these math functions within the CMath library. Now for C++ booleans, amo to gyapon true or false, and if you go with a boolean expression, C++ equation returns a value of true if 1 and then false if 0. So you can use this comparison operator to find out if an expression is of a variable is true or not. So for this example, integer x is equal to 10, integer y equals to 9, and it will see out x is equals to x is greater than y. It will return 1 if it's true, because 10 is greater than 9. For if it's these numbers are changed, no? For example, y is declared as 12, no? For example, so it will not satisfy this greater than operator, since 12 is greater than 10. So it will return a 0 value because this expression is false. Now for the if else conditions, we call it the condition statements. So using the if statement as declaration naton sa aton code, we have this first, the usual logical conditions of mathematics naman less than, greater than, less than or equal, greater than or equal, also equal, and not equal. So these are the symbols as kagina to sa comparison operators naton. This can also be used as conditions to perform these actions in the conditional statements naton. So if using sa if amaning conditional statements naton, using if to specify a block of code to be executed if the specific or specified condition is true, and else to specify a block of code to be executed if the same condition is false. So else if to specify a new condition to test if the first condition is false, and then switch to specify the alternative blocks of code to be executed. Now we will go through this one by one. So we start with if. Amo naton nga if else, no? Use if statement to specify a block of code if the condition is true. So in the syntax, if the condition is produced in this area, and then the block of code to be executed if the condition is true in the main function and within these braces. And for example, if 30 is greater than 15, so this is true, it will produce this output to see out 30 is greater than 15. This will be the output to display, since this condition is satisfied as true. Then the else statement, if the else statement to specify a block of code is false. So in the syntax, if the condition, the block of code to be executed if the condition is true, else the condition of code that was to be executed if the statement is false. So the else if statement naman, this is the syntax. may specify the condition if the first condition is false. So condition 1, if it's true, this will execute. Else if another condition, if this one is false, then condition 2 is again checked. So this block of code will be executed if the second condition is true. And then lastly, else if the first two conditions are false, then this block of code will be executed. So in this example, integer time. So if time is less than 10, since 22, but since 22 is greater than 10, this code will not be displayed. Else if its times less than 20, this will be displayed. But in comparison again, since time is 22 is greater than 20, so this is false. So the else function will then be executed. So it will display good evening since 22 is greater than 10 and also greater than 20. So ano yung output natin. Now for the switch statements, using the switch statement to select one of many code blocks to be executed. In the syntax, switch expression naman yung dire, declaration, and then case X. Then this one the first code block, and then the next one is case Y, and then the default code block on the bottom. So you notice my break on each case. So on how it works, expression is evaluated once. The value of expression is compared with the value of its case. So if whatever the code or value is declared here, it will be compared to the expression input. So if there's a match, the associated block of code is executed. So the break and default keywords are optional, but notice how the function of this break keyword, it will break out the switch block. So in this case, this code block should need to have a break. Not it's optional, but it gives out a function to break out the switch block after uh, checking through the running the part of this program. So this will tap the execution of more code in case testing inside the block. So when the match is found and the job is done, it's time for a break. So there is no need for more testing. Hence, the break is optional, but is uh, advised to have sa money part on every code block declared in the main function ng program. Now, the C++ while loops, ang loop naton is defined as executing a block of code as long as a specified condition is reached. Is handy because they save time, they reduce errors, and make the code more readable. So, imbes nga liwaton niya ng code ang isa ka function, as you make same gyapon ang output nga nalagas no, but there is a specific condition. So, we would rather have a uh, loop function instead of just writing them one by one. So the C while loop goes through a block of code as long as a specific condition is true. So this is the syntax natin, while condition, and then this inside the braces the block of code to be executed. So in this example, integer I is equals to 0, while I is less than 5, it will produce this code. This will run this code, cout I and /n, this is for the new line, and I++, this is the increment. It will increase the value of I by 1. So it will produce an output. Ang output again is 0, while I is less than 5, no? It will produce this code. So from 0, run naman sa add sa 1 value sa 0, so 1, produce naman sa, since it's still less than 5, hasta nga makalabas sa 5. It will increment will stop once nga aton nga masatisfy ma-false yan ani nga aton nga conditions ni. So kung once mag-equal ng 5 sa I, this block of the code will stop running. Sa do while naman is a variant of the while loop. It will execute the code block once before checking if the condition is true. Then it will repeat the loop as long as the condition is true. So the syntax, code block to be executed using do, no? And the condition is below sa while after some main function naton. So in this example, integer I equals to 0, do this block of code, execute this block of code while this condition is still true or satisfied. While I is less than 5, you execute this block of code. So sige, increment, basta mag 5. So once mag false na ni, ma-stop na niyang aton nga execution sa amon nga code. So the same function is just a variant. There are other setup nga once mas mas nami siya gamiton aside from the usual to nga loop lang while loop lang and comparison sa isa. So depende mi gyapon on how the setup of the program will look and to optimize if mas preferred nga gamiton between the two functions. Now for the for loop, when you know exactly how many times you want to loop through a block of code, use this for loop instead of the while loop. So this is the syntax for statement 1, statement 2, statement 3, and then the code block to be executed. So statement 1 is executed one time before the execution of a code block, and statement 2 defines the condition for executing the code block, and statement 3 is executed every time after the code block has been executed. So in this example, we'll print the number 0 to 4, integer I equals 0, among the condition na to, no? Statement 2, and then the statement 3 is the increment. So executed every time the code, once this is true, sige na yung run sa among nga increment, and then it will produce this output. So the same mo daw kagina, it will print out the numbers initially from the starting 0 hasta nga mag false na ning iton nga statement 2 naton sa in this for statement execution nito. Now for arrays, so they stored multiple values in a single variable instead of declaration these separate variables into each value. So to declare an array, define the variable type and then specify the name of the array followed by the square brackets and specify the number of elements. So string, this is an array, no? The name is the variable name is cars, and then the 4 is the number of elements that it will store. So sa yung example, we have declared a variable that holds an array of 4 strings. So this the array name, string type ang yung data type, and then apat ka bilog ng string ang i-store dyan na. So to insert this value, we can use an array literal. It specifies the value in comma separated list inside the curly braces. So this is the syntax declaration with example with 4, no? 4 strings. You can add this text, Volvo, BMW, Ford, and Mazda. So these are stored in this array of 4 strings. So you'd only need one array string declaration for storing this in the code. So to create another example, to create an array of 3 integers, you could write this line int my number, my num, the name 3, and then have these numbers 10, 20, 30 stored in this array integer. Now for looping through an array, you can loop using the for loop command. So the following example, among declaration, string cars for among yung na to, Volvo, BMW, Ford, Mazda, for int equals to 0, same using the statement mentioned in the previous slide. So it will just place this output, see out the cars, and then the integer I, the number, no? and then new line. So basically it will print out each element stored in the cars array into a single line and then added below ang iban as long as the increment is satisfied in this for statement naton nga condition. So the following example also index the each element together with its value. So in comparison naman no, ang aton nga cout command is I, then quotation mark string colon, and then the array declaration using I as our array input for the number, and then backslash n as our ending line to have the output printed in a new line for each string in the array. Now for SQL Class Reference, you can also use this as sort of a reference variable to an existing variable, and it is created by using the AND operator. So in this example, string food is pizza. No, the array variable is food, and then the input string is pizza, and you would add this command string and meal is equal to food. So the reference to food is using this variable name of app name. So we can use this either the name, this one, the name food, or the reference name meal, this one, to refer to the food variable kung ano ning unod dyan eh. So if we produce it in the code, string food to pizza, and then string and meal equals to food, so it will just also output pizza in this declaration. So cout food new line outputs pizza, and then cout meal new line, it will also output the same strings ang unod sa foods, which is the pizza string. So that is basically a wrap of this range of topics sa C++. If we could also need to implement the rest ng sa actual nga program, I would suggest nga we could learn it, but then since the topics na lang is asta lang na ano is how the functions ng sa aton nga C++, no, we could not delve gid sa aton nga actual nga programming, since mabudlay mga aton nga wala ta sang hands-on gid nga kinahanglan. But going back to kagina sa first naton sa second slide naton nga what that you would need the software to run this program, you can do practices there. So copying and may mga example man exercises makita online and the implementation of this basics no, sa naton nga C++ language. So I hope nga you could familiarize mo lang sa ato nga terms, and naman akong may extra ka mga time you could do the practice of the implementation of the code, and also to get it familiarize na gyud magyapon sa kung sa actual programming ng output. So I hope nakabulig gining aton nga part 2 nga discussion, and amo na, thank you gid sa pag pamati.